All right, so today we're going to dive into something pretty wild. Kawasaki Heavy Industries has unveiled this concept called the Corio, and it's not your typical motorcycle. Think more like a bipedal, four-legged robot, kind of looks like a big cat, and it's powered by hydrogen. So we'll be exploring what exactly this thing is, how it's supposed to work as some kind of futuristic off-road vehicle. And the big question, is this a real glimpse into the future of transportation, or just a cool design study? Oh, and by the way, if you're liking these deep dives, we'd really appreciate it if you could help Le Podcast de Philippe hit that 1,000 subscriber mark on YouTube today. All right, so let's break down this Kawasaki Corio concept. It was presented at the Expo Osaka Kansai 2025 in their Mobile Instincts Pavilion.
Yeah, right off the bat, the description is pretty striking. They're calling it a two-seater, four-legged robot. And yeah, it really does look like some sort of massive feline. Your sources highlight the biomimetic design.
Yeah.
So it's taking cues from four-legged animals like horses, and they've equipped it with four articulated legs that end in these non-slip rubber hooves. And that design is all about being able to handle tough terrain, rock slopes, things. That would be a nightmare for wheels.
So, okay, let's talk about what makes this thing go. The Corio is designed around a 150 centimeters hydrogen engine, so I'm assuming this is using a fuel cell to generate electricity, which would then power the motors in each leg.
Right.
Now, the big deal here is that its only emission is water vapor, which obviously plays right into the whole decarbonization movement.
Yeah, the hydrogen power is definitely interesting. The emissions are clean.
Yeah.
But the infrastructure to support widespread hydrogen use, that's still a major hurdle. I mean, think about it. We've got electric charging stations popping up everywhere, but hydrogen refueling stations, those are still pretty rare.
Yeah.
So that's a big practical challenge for any vehicle running on hydrogen, even one as futuristic as the Corio.
Right. And when it comes to what this thing is supposed to be able to do, the concept includes some pretty high-tech features. The sources mention AI specifically for navigating off-road, and riders would have a control panel showing things like hydrogen levels and the robot's center of gravity, which would be crucial for staying upright on tricky terrain.
It sounds like they're going for a pretty advanced level of rider assistance, maybe even partial autonomy, to help navigate complex environments, and giving the rider real-time data on things like fuel and balance that really emphasizes the focus on safety, making sure this unique machine can be operated safely.
And they've even included a system for projecting light markers for nighttime guidance.
Oh, wow.
Which makes me think they're envisioning this thing being used in some pretty demanding situations.
Definitely, yeah.
Now, we've all seen those impressive concept videos of the Corio, jumping over obstacles and navigating crazy landscapes, but the sources are pretty clear that this is still very much a concept at this point.
It's absolutely a critical detail to keep in mind. Kawasaki hasn't built a working prototype yet. And to get to the level of functionality shown in those videos, well, that's going to require some major advancements in several key technologies. They're saying a potential market launch could happen around 2050. So this is more of a long-term vision for mobility, not something we'll be seeing on the roads anytime soon.
It's interesting. One of the sources even suggested that the presentation video is so realistic, it almost looks AI generated, as if it's mostly based on synthesized images.
Really?
Yeah, which really highlights how conceptual this whole thing is.
Right. It underscores that point, definitely. And while they have shown a life-size mock-up of the Corio in public, no one has actually seen it in action. So the question remains, is the Corio truly a step towards the future of personal transportation? Or is it more of a design and technology exercise, pushing boundaries and exploring possibilities?
That's a good question, and it brings up a point we've seen before. We often encounter these concepts that are way ahead of the technology currently available. Could the Kawasaki Corio be another example of that? I mean, it's this unique blend of bio-inspired design and eco-friendly tech, even if the practicalities are still a ways off.
It definitely has the hallmarks of a very forward-looking concept, that's for sure. And the way it combines bio-inspired design with this focus on clean hydrogen propulsion. I think it pushes us to reconsider what personal transportation could look like in the future, and maybe how robotics might play a role in that evolution.
For sure. And when you look at some of the specific design elements, they've mentioned things like adjustable stirrups for the riders, rubberized hooves for grip, a narrow handlebar for steering, and a touchscreen dashboard with mapping. It starts to paint a picture of a very specific user experience.
And then there's the AI's role in predictive step analysis, which is a huge challenge, but also a fascinating aspect of the design. The idea that this robot could analyze the terrain ahead and adjust its leg movements to stay stable and efficient.
Right.
And then they've even got sensors to monitor the rider's posture and adjust accordingly for safer navigation that points to a really sophisticated level of interaction between the human and the machine.
So even if the Corleo, as it is now, never actually makes it to market, what do you think the impact of a concept like this could be?
I think the real value of these kinds of conceptual projects is in the inspiration and the technological leaps they can trigger. Even if the Corleo itself doesn't become a product, the advancements they need to make in things like hydrogen fuel cell tech for smaller applications, AI-driven locomotion and balance systems, and applying those biomimetic design principles for better off-road performance. All of that could end up influencing other Kawasaki products down the line. Maybe we'll see elements of this design philosophy in future motorcycles, ATVs, or even entirely new types of personal mobility devices.
So we've talked about how this concept might be ahead of its time, but I'm curious, what aspects of it do you find the most compelling, and what are the biggest technological hurdles they'd need to overcome to make this vision a reality?
Well, I think the most compelling aspect for me is the sheer ambition of the project. I mean, we're talking about a robot that can navigate complex terrain, carry passengers, and do it all while being powered by hydrogen. That's a huge engineering challenge, but it's also incredibly exciting to think about what that kind of technology could enable. As for the hurdles, well, there are a few. First off, the hydrogen fuel cell technology needs to become more compact and efficient to fit into a vehicle this size. Second, the AI systems that control the robot's movement need to be incredibly robust and reliable. We're talking about a machine that needs to make split-second decisions in potentially dangerous situations, so there's no room for error. And finally, there's the cost. Developing and producing a machine like this is going to be incredibly expensive, which could make it difficult to bring to market at a price point that consumers can afford. So there are definitely challenges, but I think the potential rewards are huge. If Kawasaki can pull this off, they'll have created a truly revolutionary form of transportation.
And it'll definitely be interesting to see what influence this concept has on the future of mobility.
I agree, and I think it's a great reminder that the future transportation might be a lot more diverse and unexpected than we currently imagine.
Right, well, that's all the time we have for our deep dive into the Kawasaki Corleo concept.
Yeah, it was a fascinating discussion.
Be sure to check out our show notes for links to the source material we used. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future deep dives.
And if you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps us reach more listeners.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
See you then.